I'm sitting at the corner table of Marcello's, the Italian restaurant where Vanessa and I had our first date 7 years ago, and I can see a man walking toward us with a boy who looks exactly like the photos on our bedroom wall. The photos Vanessa told me were all she had left of her dead husband and their son. The waiter just brought out our anniversary dessert with a sparkler on top, and Vanessa's hand freezes halfway to her wine glass as the color drains completely from her face. I watch her mouth open slightly. No sound coming out, and then this man I've only seen in old photographs sits down at our table like he's been invited, pulling the boy into the empty chair beside him. The restaurant noise around us seems to fade into nothing as I stare at this ghost. This man who supposedly drowned in a fishing accident when his son was just a baby. I realize I'm waiting for someone to tell me this is some kind of sick joke. Vanessa's not looking at me. She's looking at him with an expression I've never seen on her face before. Something between terror and relief. When she finally speaks, her voice comes out as barely a whisper. She says his name. Just once, Garrett. And the way she says it makes my stomach turn because it doesn't sound like she's seeing a ghost. It sounds like she's been expecting him. The boy is watching me with these intense brown eyes that are identical to Vanessa's. And Garrett leans back in his chair with this calm, almost amused expression as he tells me we need to talk about some things. He says it like we're old friends meeting for coffee, not like he just walked back from the dead into the middle of my anniversary dinner. I feel my hands grip the edge of the table so hard my knuckles go white. I want to ask him what the hell is happening. I want to scream at Vanessa to explain this, but instead I just sit there in complete silence while other diners start to notice the tension at our table. Garrett reaches into his jacket pocket and pulls out a thick manila envelope, sliding it across the white tablecloth toward me. He tells me that everything I think I know about my wife is a carefully constructed lie. He says he didn't fake his death because he wanted to disappear. He faked it because he had to, because staying dead was the only way to protect his son from what Vanessa had become. The sparkler on our dessert finally burns out, leaving just a thin trail of smoke rising between us. Garrett opens that envelope to show me documents, bank statements, legal papers, things that I know are going to destroy everything I've built my life around. Vanessa and I met at a hospital fundraiser where she was volunteering. This beautiful woman in a navy blue dress who told me about her tragic past over glasses of champagne. She'd lost her husband Garrett in a terrible boating accident when their son Cole was just 10 months old. Or at least that's what she told me. She'd been so brave, raising Cole on her own, working as a pediatric nurse while going to night school to finish her degree. I fell for her immediately, not just because she was stunning, but because she had this strength about her, this resilience that I'd never seen in anyone before. We dated for 8 months before I proposed, and she cried when she said yes, telling me that she never thought she'd find love again after losing Garrett. Cole was 3 years old by then, and he called me daddy within 6 months of us getting married. I adopted him legally a year after the wedding because Vanessa said it would mean everything to her, that Cole deserved to have a father's name on his birth certificate instead of that painful reminder of loss. I signed those papers without hesitation, changed his last name to mine, became his father in every legal sense. Looking back now, I can see how carefully she orchestrated every single moment of that process. The red flags were there from the beginning. I just didn't want to see them. Vanessa never wanted to talk about Garrett's family, claimed they'd disowned her after his death because they blamed her for letting him go out on the boat that day. She had no photos of their wedding, said they'd all been destroyed in a house fire along with most of her possessions from her first marriage. Every time I tried to learn more about her past, she'd get emotional and I'd back off, not wanting to cause her pain. She was obsessive about our finances, insisting that we keep separate bank accounts even after we got married because she said she needed to maintain some independence after losing everything with Garrett. I thought it was a trauma response, a way for her to feel secure after her first husband's death left her struggling financially. I never questioned why a woman who claimed to be broke somehow had enough money to put a down payment on our house just months after we got engaged. Now Garrett is telling me that his death was faked with help from Vanessa's brother, a lawyer who specialized in estate planning and knew exactly how to make someone disappear on paper. He's showing me the life insurance payout, $875,000 that Vanessa collected after presenting a death certificate and staging an elaborate memorial service. He's showing me bank transfers. Money that went into accounts I didn't know existed. Property deeds for a lake house in Montana that Vanessa supposedly inherited from an aunt to the boy. Cole, who I've been raising as my son for the past 6 years, reaches across the table and touches my hand with this heartbreaking gentleness. He tells me he's sorry, that he didn't know I existed until 3 months ago when his father finally told him the truth. He says Garrett has been living under a different name in Canada, working as a fishing guide and sending money to a third-party account that Vanessa was supposed to be using for Cole's future. Garrett explains that the plan was simple at first. They would fake his death, collect the insurance money, and use it to start over somewhere new together once the investigation closed, but Vanessa never came. Never brought Cole to meet him at the designated location. Instead, she cut off all contact, changed her phone number, moved to a different city, and built a new life with his son and his money. He spent years trying to track her down, hiring private investigators and lawyers, but she'd covered her tracks perfectly with her brother's help. But then one day 6 months ago, he saw a photo online. A family picture from someone's Facebook page that had been shared publicly. It was Vanessa and Cole at some kid's birthday party. And standing next to them with my arm around her waist was me. That's when Garrett realized what she'd done. That she hadn't just stolen his money and disappeared. She'd replaced him entirely. She'd given his son to another man, created a whole new family as if he'd never existed. He started investigating me, learning everything about my life, my job as a financial analyst, my relationship with Cole, the house we lived in that was partially bought with his insurance money. Vanessa finally speaks. Her voice stronger now, but with an edge of desperation that I've never heard before. She tells Garrett that he needs to leave, that he gave up his rights when he agreed to fake his own death and commit fraud. She says if he tries to take Cole or expose what happened, she'll make sure he goes to prison for insurance fraud and conspiracy. Garrett laughs at this. Actually laughs, and tells her that he's already been to the police, he's already confessed everything, shown them all the evidence, made a deal to testify against her and her brother in exchange for a reduced sentence. He's been wearing a wire to this dinner, recording every word she said. I can feel the blood draining from my face as I realize what this means. That my wife is about to be arrested for insurance fraud and conspiracy. That the son I've raised might be taken away. That everything we've built is about to come crashing down. Other diners are definitely watching us now. Our table has become some kind of spectacle. And I see a waiter on his phone, probably calling the manager. Vanessa turns to me with tears streaming down her face, reaching for my hands across the table, begging me to understand that she did it all for Cole. She says Garrett was controlling and abusive, that he'd threatened to take Cole away from her if she ever tried to leave. She says the insurance fraud was his idea, that she only went along with it because she was terrified of him. But Garrett has more documents. Police reports that Vanessa filed against him that were later withdrawn. Medical records showing injuries she claimed he caused, all of which turned out to be fabricated. According to the investigators he's been working with, he has testimony from her brother, who turned state's evidence 3 weeks ago and is now cooperating fully with authorities. Her brother admitted that Vanessa was the mastermind, that she'd planned the whole thing from the beginning because she'd met me at that fundraiser and wanted a way out of her marriage with Garrett. The timeline starts to make sense in the most horrifying way possible. Vanessa and I met at that fundraiser just 2 months before Garrett's supposed death. She must have been planning it even then, sizing me up as her next target. The stable guy with a good job who would be perfect to help her raise Cole while she spent the insurance money she was about to collect. Cole is crying now, and I reach out to comfort him, but Garrett stops me, his hand on my arm, telling me that I need to understand something important. Cole isn't just confused and scared. He's been living a lie for his entire conscious memory for the past 6 years. This boy has believed that his father drowned when he was a baby, has called me daddy, has no memory of Garrett at all. Garrett pulls out more photos, pictures of him and baby Cole before the staged death, pictures that Vanessa told me were lost in that fabricated house fire. He shows me videos on his phone. Videos of him teaching a toddler Cole to fish, pushing him on a swing, reading bedtime stories. This man was erased from his son's life completely. and I was brought in as the replacement without ever knowing the truth. I think about all the times Vanessa discouraged me from digging into her past, from connecting with other parents at Cole's school who might have known her before Garrett's death, from joining any social media groups for our neighborhood. She kept our life isolated and controlled, only allowing relationships with people who entered our circle after she created this new identity. 2 police officers walk into the restaurant, heading straight for our table. And I realize that Garrett wasn't lying about making a deal. Vanessa stands up, knocking over her wine glass, the red liquid spreading across the white tablecloth like blood. She's telling me that I have to believe her, that Garrett is manipulating everyone, that she loves me and Cole needs me. One of the officers asks her to come with them quietly, and I watch my wife, the woman I've loved for 7 years, being read her rights in the middle of our anniversary dinner. Other diners have their phones out now, recording this whole disaster, and I know that by tomorrow it'll be all over social media, maybe even the local news. Cole is sobbing, reaching for me, and Garrett tells the officers that he needs a moment with his son before they take him to child services. The officers agree, stepping back slightly, and Garrett kneels down to Cole's level, talking to him in a gentle voice that makes it clear this man genuinely loves his child. He's explaining that mommy made some mistakes and needs to go away for a while, that he's Cole's real father and he's going to take care of him now. I feel like I'm watching my family being dismantled in real time, piece by piece, and there's nothing I can do to stop it. The officers lead Vanessa out of the restaurant in handcuffs, and she's screaming now, telling Cole that she loves him, begging me to call her lawyer, promising that this is all a misunderstanding. I just sit there frozen, unable to move or speak or process what's happening. Garrett sits back down across from me, and his expression softens slightly as he tells me that he knows I had no idea about any of this. The police have cleared me of any wrongdoing, confirmed that I was just another one of Vanessa's victims, manipulated and used to help her maintain the lie. He says he doesn't blame me for loving his son, for being a good father to Cole when he couldn't be there himself. He tells me that Cole will need therapy, probably for years, to process all of this trauma and confusion. He says that once the legal stuff is settled, once Vanessa is convicted and the dust settles, maybe I can still be part of Cole's life in some capacity if that's what Cole wants. But right now, he needs to rebuild the relationship with his son that Vanessa stole from him. The aftermath unfolds over the next several months like a slow-motion car crash. Vanessa's brother testifies against her in exchange for a reduced sentence, admitting that they'd planned the entire fraud together and that he'd helped her hide assets and create false documents. The investigation reveals that Vanessa had done this before, that her first marriage before Garrett was also to a wealthy man who died under suspicious circumstances, though that death was ruled accidental at the time. Vanessa is convicted of insurance fraud, conspiracy, and about 6 other charges I can barely keep track of. She gets 8 years in prison, and the judge orders her to pay restitution for the insurance money plus penalties. Her brother gets 4 years for his role in the fraud and for helping her evade detection for so long. I file for divorce immediately, and because our marriage was based on fraud from the beginning, the annulment goes through faster than I expected. The house has to be sold because it's considered an asset purchased with fraudulent funds, and I lose my down payment and all the equity I thought I was building. My credit is destroyed. My savings are gone fighting the legal battles, and my reputation in our community is shattered. Even though I was cleared of any criminal wrongdoing, Cole goes to live with Garrett full-time, and the courts terminate my adoption because it was based on false pretenses. Legally, I'm no longer his father, and that fact tears me apart more than anything else. I visit Cole a few times with Garrett's permission, but it's awkward and painful, watching him slowly remember his real father and forget the life he had with me. The last time I see Cole, he's almost 12 years old, and he looks so much like Garrett now that it's uncanny. He tells me that he's doing okay, that he's in therapy and making progress, that he understands now why everything happened the way it did. He thanks me for being a good dad to him when he needed one. And then he asks me not to visit anymore because it makes it harder for him to move forward. Garrett sends me a message a few months after that final visit, telling me that Cole is thriving in Canada, doing well in school, making friends, recovering from the trauma. He says that Vanessa writes letters to Cole from prison, but Garrett screens them and has only shown Cole a few of the less manipulative ones. He thanks me for taking care of his son when he couldn't, for loving Cole genuinely even if the circumstances were built on lies. I never remarried. Never even dated seriously after Vanessa. How could I trust anyone again after being deceived so completely? After building a life with someone who was playing me from the very first conversation, I moved to a different state, changed jobs, tried to start over. But the damage goes deeper than geography or career changes can fix. Sometimes I still think about that anniversary dinner. About the moment Garrett walked in with Cole and shattered my entire reality. I think about all the small lies Vanessa told, all the tiny deceptions that built up into this massive construction of fraud that trapped us all. I think about Cole calling me daddy, trusting me completely, having no idea that his real father was alive and searching for him. The thing that haunts me most isn't even the financial devastation or the public humiliation or the legal nightmare that consumed 2 years of my life. It's knowing that I loved Vanessa completely. That every emotion I felt was real even though nothing about her was. It's understanding that I was just a prop in her elaborate stage play, carefully selected and positioned to help her maintain the lie she was living. I kept one photo from our marriage, hidden in a drawer that I never opened. It's from our wedding day, me and Vanessa and 3-year-old Cole. All of us smiling at the camera like we're the happiest family in the world. Sometimes I take it out and stare at it, trying to see the monster behind Vanessa's smile, trying to spot the deception in her eyes, but all I see is the woman I love, the family I thought was mine, and the lie that destroyed everything I believed about my life.